Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we've got my friend Daniel Franco of Burnt Timber Outfitters, born and raised in Heber, Arizona, right in the heart of Unit 3C. Daniel, how you doing?
Great. How you doing, Jay?
Good. Recovering a little bit from our Mexico trip. Seems like a pretty tough year overall in Sonora. You guys were down there as well and shot some good bucks, but had a tough season.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Quality was down, quantity was down. It was just kind of tough all around. So,
yeah, kind of a lackluster rut.
Yeah, yep. But we still had a good time, and yeah, we killed some pretty good bucks in our group. But unfortunately, I came home empty-handed. Just didn't see anything that even excited me. So, never even pulled my gun out.
Well, that happens sometimes.
Yes, it does.
I think you're on the blackball list for at least 10 years after the buck you shot a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's always fun to get down there and chase coos deer in January. But yeah, definitely a tough year this year. Dang it.
For those listening that don't know, Daniel went, I believe it was in 2018. 2017, he shot 142 inch. How big was it?
141.
Yeah, 141. So he's on the do not shoot for the next 10 years list. He just has to suffer through the consequences of shooting a big giant buck.
I got 1 year down without shooting a buck, so that's good. I got 9 more to go.
Daniel, we're sitting here February 1st. We're staring in the face. I believe the deadline is February 11th for Arizona for elk and antelope. I wanted to talk to you specifically about Unit 3A, 3C, which is where you're born and raised and where Burnt Timber Outfitters does a lot of their work. You guys also guide in Unit 1, Unit 4B, 23, 3B, a lot of those rim country units, but first wanted to get your take on 3A, 3C as far as moisture conditions going into the draw. How are things looking up there as far as moisture?
You know, right now we're sitting really good. We haven't had a bomber winter as far as moisture goes, but it's just been steady and consistent. We've had a few pretty decent snows. We've had actually some rains this year, which is kind of odd for us, but we've had a few rains. So right now we're sitting really good. I would say we're probably slightly above average on our moisture right now for this time of year. I wouldn't mind seeing 1 or 2 more pretty good snowstorm, and then roll into some spring rains in March and April, and maybe 1 or 2 in May even wouldn't hurt. But yeah, right now, I mean, we've got all of the tanks are pretty much full. Puddles in the roads. Still some snow pack on the north slopes. Everything on the north side still got a little bit of snow, so that's going to slowly melt here in the next couple of 3 to 4 weeks and get into the ground. So yeah, right now moisture's looking really good. Last year was good, so looks like we're going to put 2 good years of moisture together, so that's exciting.
Daniel, looking at 3A, 3C, the archery hunt is September 11th through the 24th. Looking at the moon is full on the 1st or 2nd of September, and won't be full again until the end of the month. So it looks like the archery hunt is going to be pretty much the 2-week period is going to be a dark moon. What is your anticipation of the quality of rut from the start of the hunt throughout the hunt? Do you think with that darker moon on the 11th, do you think they'll be, going gangbusters, or do you think it'll be one of those things that they progress kind of as the season goes and be more of a normal type 3 seed rutting year?
I think it'll be normal. Coming in with that hunt on the 11th. The 11th is maybe a touch early of a start, but I'll be honest, I like it a little bit early because a lot of times if you can locate, a bigger bull that's not into the swing of the rut. They're a little bit easier to kill early on before they start to get cows or start to go crazy. So with the 11th, that's going to be that last quarter of the moon, going right into the new moon about the 17th, and then starting to build back up towards the end of the hunt. So I think as far as moon phase goes, it's about as good as you can get. So I'm excited about that. I think it's going to start out about normal, but we're not gonna miss any major rutting activity due to full moon or due to them rutting at night. So I think that's going to be good. I'm excited to see how this year plays out with that. So.
Daniel, in 3C last year, obviously we didn't get the summer monsoons that we were hoping for, but we did get a lot of moisture throughout the state after the monsoons, and had, going into the fall and during the fall had good moisture. Talk a little bit about, last season, the archery season in 3C, what you saw as far as rutting activity, and did the monsoons or lack of monsoons, good monsoons, play into that rutting activity? And with that being said, how the activity that you saw last year, how it's going to play in or have any effect on this year's rutting season in 3C?
Well, first off, last year they did switch that early rifle hunt to before the start of the archery hunt. They flopped the seasons last year. So we actually had the early rifle first in 3C, and then the archery hunt started, I believe it was on the 20th, and rolled through the first part of October. So, it was kind of a poor monsoon season. We didn't get a lot of that, July and August moisture. And I do think that played in a little bit with the rut. We saw a pretty good rut last year. It wasn't phenomenal. It wasn't one of the best I've ever seen, but it wasn't horrible by any means. It was just kind of an average rut. We had plenty of good days during that archery season when we had good rutting activity. And like any rutting season, we had a couple of down days, which we've seen that even when we have phenomenal moisture. So I would say it was just about average as far as activity, as far as rutting. I do think that the lack of monsoons did play into that a little bit, but that's okay. With that archery hunt being later, we did definitely see the peak of the rut during that archery season, and I'm looking forward to this year. We left quite a few good bulls on that archery hunt because the early rifle was first. That we're hoping made it through the late season on the reservation and show back up, and we'll see what this year brings. But it'll be exciting for sure.
Guys, when I'm looking right now at the Go Hunt Insider, and I'm looking at the early archery. I look down there at 3A, 3C, and for non-residents, it's saying anyone with 21 points, it's a guaranteed draw. With 19 points, it says 83% chance of drawing. 18 points, 2.2, so it really tapers off between that 18 and 19 point category. Daniel, talk a little bit about, before we went on live, you had mentioned that you think there was quite a few people that had given their tags back the year before. As far as a point structure goes, what in your mind as a non-resident is kind of be that magic spot?
Well, yeah. So 2 years ago we had the bad drought year, and we actually had 3 clients that ended up turning their tags back that year. They drew in the max pool with 17, turned their tags back because of lack of moisture and drought conditions. So going into last year, they had 18 points, and all 3 guys drew again in the max pool last year. My personal feeling is, I think because of that drought year, a lot of guys turned their tags back, bought bonus points, whatever the case. And so going into last year, I think a lot of guys cashed in points last year to take advantage of the moisture, to take advantage of not a lot of bulls getting killed the previous year because of the drought. So I'll be honest, I don't think it'll be that high. I think if anything, I think it's going to trend the opposite, where a lot of guys cashed points in last year, so it wouldn't surprise me to see that number even drop a point this year going into the draw.
Daniel, as far as expectations, being born and raised there in Heber, right in the heart of 3C, as far as expectations of quality of bulls, you've seen everything from when you were a kid to, pre-rodeo Chetasky Fire to, post-rodeo Chetasky Fire, and now where we're at now. Talk a little bit about the expectations for people in a 14-day period, what the size quality expectations, what people should expect to see throughout the hunt. And then maybe with that, what are some of the, kind of higher end expectations that someone might see in a year like this?
Well, I think, like I said, I'm pretty excited about this year, pretty optimistic based on our moisture, based on putting 2 years of good moisture together. So going into this year, I think those expectations are going to be a little bit higher than normal. I mean, normally we tell our potential clients and those people that we talk to that 3C, especially on the archery hunt, we're targeting those 350 plus bulls. We're looking for a 350 plus type bull. Those are the ones that we're trying to target on that archery hunt. And that's kind of just a general broad, because a lot of that depends on the year, depends on the moisture, depends on the rut, depends on a lot of things. Going into last year, that number was up higher. It was more of a 360 type goal is what we were looking at last year going into the archery hunt, especially based off of the early rifle, what we had seen during the early rifle season, what we had killed on that hunt. So I think going into this year, I think it's going to be similar. I think those 360 plus bulls, I think in 14 days, it's not unrealistic to see a 370 or 380 type bull and put all your efforts into him and chase him and try to get him killed. As far as the top end, it's not uncommon for a 400-inch bull to come out of 3C. It seems like there's typically on good years, there's typically one or two that comes out of 3C every year. So I don't think that's completely out of reach. I think they're few and far between. They're definitely not behind every tree, but there's definitely that potential and that genetic to find something in that 400-inch range once a year. So but I think definitely a more realistic goal is something in that 360 plus range.
Daniel, I'm looking at the regs right now, and there's 100 bull tags, archery bull tags, and there's 50 cow tags. That's a decrease in tags. So with only 150 people out there in the woods, how do you think that is going to play in for a better quality hunt?
I think it's huge. I'll be honest. I think that is going to be big. That's a 35 tag decrease on the archery bull, and I'll be honest, can't remember if the archery cow was 60 or 75, but either way, that's a 10 to 25 tag decrease on the archery cow. So that's going to be 45 to 60 people less in the woods with a bow in hand and a cow call and a bugle. That's going to be big this year. Only having that 150 tag holders in the woods. So that's another reason that I think that 3C is going to get targeted pretty hard this year because of the tag decrease and the quality that came out of there last year. So I think it's going to be big.
As we talk about the archery hunt, I can't help but think about the early rifle hunt. With last year, you mentioning that the early rifle hunt went before the archery hunt. This year, it's back on the back end of the archery hunt, more like normal. It seems like for years it was 40 tags there in 3C, and I'm noticing that number has been, it's at 25. Is that a decrease as well? And talk a little bit about, the quality of hunt that you think that 3C or early rifle will be.
So it was 40 tags about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago. Then they dropped it down to 30, and now it's down to 25. It was 25 last year as well. So it's been hovering right there at 25 for the last few years. It's a phenomenal hunt. This year we're going to be fighting the moon a little bit. But, with the archery hunt ending on the 24th, I mean, you've basically got that last week of September on that early rifle hunt. That's going to be a phenomenal hunt. It always is. It's always a fun hunt after you've chased bulls for 2 weeks with the bow and had so many close encounters and, bulls that get away from a tree branch or being just out of range with the bow. It's always nice to roll into that early rifle season where, now you're 250, 300 yards, no problem, and dropping big bulls. So, it's a great hunt. A lot of running action. That's the hunt that we really look forward to because we've got about a month straight of just solid boots on the ground scouting in, and we know exactly what bulls we want to kill, and we've already got our hit list made up from all of our scouting and the archery hunt, and so it's a matter of getting in there and getting those bulls killed, and it's a good time.
I'm looking here. It doesn't appear that there's a 3A, 3C late archery hunt, unless I'm missing. Is that new?
No, they did away with that probably about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Another change in 3C is they've actually cut the tags kind of across the board on the cow hunts as well. The junior cow they cut by 50. The general cow, they actually had 2 general cow seasons. One was the middle of October, and then one was right after the mule deer hunt in November. They've actually, because of the alternative management for the mule deer, they've actually deleted the entire hunt the middle of October and only have 250 tags in the November hunt, which is actually about a 200 tag decrease in cow hunts. So that's going to help the mule deer hunt by not having a general cow season come in right before the mule deer hunt, and we're gonna kill a lot less cows in 3C. So they also did add a champ hunt in the middle of October that's 15 tags, and that's an any elk. So, which I think is a good thing. 3C does have a lot of road access. You can almost drive the entire unit, via road systems through the unit. So I think that's a good thing to allow those the champ permit holders to be able to get into 3C. I think it's a little bit late as far as trying to kill a trophy bull the 16th through the 22nd, I believe. That's going to be still going to be a good hunt. I still think you can, if you have any mobility whatsoever, I think that you could still probably kill a pretty decent bull. But I think by then the majority of the big bulls have already started to make their way back to the reservation as the rut winds down.
One of the things when we've talked on the mule deer, the 3C mule deer, with having right on the cusp of being a pretty dang good unit for deer, it seems like the cow hunts that are right before those mule deer hunts typically drive you insane because of trying to pattern bucks and what have you. It sounds like with the main cow hunt right before the, your October deer hunt, that could really increase the quality of experience and potentially the quality of antler, maximum capacity type thing with being able to pattern those deer before they get all mucked up by the cow hunters. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we've talked in the past on previous podcasts where we've had bucks located, bucks from previous years, and the junior cow hunt doesn't seem to affect him near as bad. There's just not near as many people out, walking around and walking canyons and walking right through the middle of these bucks' home area and blowing them out like we see on the general cow hunt. So yeah, by completely eliminating that general cow hunt prior to that, I think that's going to do wonders for that 3C rifle mule deer hunt. So.
Then we want to talk about your favorite hunt of the year, which is the 3A, 3C late elk hunt, November 27th through December 3rd, your favorite.
Oh, it's my absolute favorite.
250 tags. Talk a little bit about why that hunt. You guys are very successful on the hunt, but talk about why it's such a tough hunt.
Well, first off, 250 tags this year. That's a 50 tag decrease from last year. Last year it was at 300. They cut it to 250. I wish they would have cut it to 150, to be honest with you, but I know there's...
Cut it to 5?
Cut it out completely.
Yeah.
It's just a tough hunt. Guys, they see a lot of the bulls that are killed in 3C on the early hunts, and they just don't realize that the vast majority of those bulls are not in the unit by the time November rolls around. They all head back to the reservation. That's their safe haven. That's their sanctuary. Even though there is a late tribal hunt, bull hunt on the reservation, they still get over there. It's thicker, it's steeper canyons, less roads. They're able to get away from people a lot easier than they are in 3C. So, a lot of guys come into that late hunt with high expectations, and especially when they're looking to hire an outfitter, they're kind of shooting for the moon on that, and it's just a tough hunt, and it can be a grind, and we, like you said, we've been extremely fortunate, and I credit that to a ton of scouting. We put in basically from the time that the mule deer hunt ends, the first part of November, we're out either trying to fly, glassing, just hitting the ground as hard as we can, trying to get some bulls located, because by then, if you can find bulls the first part of November, there's a pretty dang good chance they're going to be there come the end of November when that late hunt starts. So, yeah, it's tough. It's definitely a grind. I mean, it's not nice weather at all. I mean, this last year we fought fog and snow for the first 3 days, and it just made it even that much tougher. Last year there was 300, this year 250 tag holders, so there's a lot of people and not a lot of elk, so it makes it tough.
Daniel, I want to talk about some of the other units that you guys hunt as well. Before we do that, guys, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to remind you about Go Hunt Insider. If you're not an Insider member right now, we're going into the draw application period across the West. The best Western hunting resource tool out there is the Go Hunt Insider. You get a $50 Go Hunt gift card just for signing up. Go to gohunt.com/jscott and just follow the prompts. You're going to get that $50 gift card. If you want the best draw odds for all the Western states, go check out Go Hunt Insider. I also want to thank Go Hunt Optics Department. My friend Cody Nelson is the optics manager there. And I also want to report that they won the Swarovski Optic Dealer of the Year award, which is a highly prestigious award that Swarovski gives out. And my hat's off to Cody and the amount of work that he puts in, and the customer service and the care that he gives you guys is amazing. And Swarovski recognized that, and Go Hunt is the Swarovski Dealer of the Year. And that's just an amazing feat. Only 2 years in that a company could step up, and I think that just goes to show what kind of guy Cody is. If you have any optics needs at all, binoculars, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, rangefinders, you name it, tripods, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call. Not only do they carry Swarovski, they carry all of the other brands, Zeiss, Leica, Vortex, Leupold, a bunch of optical brands there. Give Cody a call, at 702-847-8747. That's extension 2. You can also text him on his cell phone, 602-399-3699. You can also send him an email at optics@gohunt.com. Congratulations to the guys at Go Hunt for being the Swarovski Optics Dealer of the Year. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. KUIU is the gear that I wear on all my hunts. Go to KUIU.com. That's KUIU.com to find out more. I also do a Q&A a lot of times on my storyboard on my Instagram page. If you have any questions, you can call the customer service there at KUIU, but you can also ask me a question on my Instagram. My Instagram is at JScottOutdoors. I want to thank PhoneScope. Go to PhoneScope.com. Use the JScott20 promo code. That's going to save you 10% there. PhoneScope is the digiscoping adapter I use to take a spotting scope and photos through my binoculars off my iPhone 10. And then I also want to thank Onyx Maps. Go to onyxmaps.com. Use the JScott20 promo code. That's going to get you a 20% discount. Daniel, you guys also, your team of guys, you work Unit 1, you guys work Unit 4B, you work 3B, 23. Anything specifically jump out in those units that you want to point out, or anything of note that we didn't cover there?
Yeah, Unit 1, they finally had a decrease in tags as well. Which is a good thing. I think they finally realized that the quality was starting to slip a little bit, and I credit that largely due to the late hunt. That late hunt in Unit 1 has really taken its toll on mature bulls, which in turn has dropped the quality in Unit 1 a little bit. So they've reacted to that this year. They've lowered archery tags by 50. They dropped 5 tags off of the early muzzleloader this year. They dropped 75, I believe, off the late bull. So yeah, hopefully that'll help Unit 1 a little bit. Still a great unit. I just think that the quality has slipped just a bit here in the last few years there. So I'm glad to see them drop tag numbers there as well. So. The other units, 3B and 4B, they've pretty much had no change there in those units. Still not your top tier units, but for those with fewer points that are tired of waiting on the Arizona draw to shine on them, they're starting to use up fewer points to draw some of these units like 3B and 4B. Seems like we get a lot of guys that once they've finally drawn their Unit 1 or 3C tag, they continue to apply and start applying for these other units, a 3B or a 4B, in hopes of drawing tags a little sooner and coming back to Arizona and hunting again. So,
Daniel, when you look at Units 3B and you look at Units 4B, what's interesting to me is, according to the GoHunt.com Insider, Unit 3B, the archery is 14 point is a guarantee 100%, whereas 4B is 10 points. That's a big difference in my mind. In your mind, is 3B that much better than 4B to have a 4-point difference?
3B has just a lot more of that typical elk habitat, the ponderosa pines, what a lot of guys think of when they think of, elk hunting. So I think for that reason alone, I think that's why that one probably requires more points as a non-resident to draw versus 4B. 4B does have some of that, high country ponderosa pine elk habitat on the south end of the unit, but as you head north, it drops down into that pinon juniper cedar, and actually all the way into 4B north, where it drops down into your antelope country, your cedar flats, which still has some elk. I think the other aspect there is, I think there's the elk are more evenly spread throughout the unit in 3B. whereas in 4B it's definitely more pocketed. There's definitely, pockets of elk here, pockets of elk there. You can go to quite a few places in 4B where you won't hear a bugle in September, and that could be one of two things: either they're just not talking, or there's no elk there. But I think the rut's a little bit better in 3B than it is in 4B, and that's why it's requiring more points for a 3B versus a 4B.
And talking about 4B, I'm looking down at the late rifle. 4B late rifle, that's a pretty tough hunt because there's really not a lot of vantage. I mean, there's no glassing, it's thick. You just laugh.
It's probably one of the toughest late hunts in the state, just for that reason. There's not a lot of vantage points. It's relatively flat, thick. It's just tough. It is a tough hunt. I'm just curious, does it show the success rate on that hunt by chance?
Yeah, I could look.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's single digits.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it?
It's brutal. Yeah, I got to imagine the success rate on that hunt is probably somewhere around 10%, maybe a little less, maybe a hair more, depending on the year. It seems like every now and then we hear of people finding a pocket of bulls in a spot where they can kind of glass them and keep eyes on them and get some bulls killed. But for the most part, they retreat to the canyons, they retreat to the thick stuff. It's pretty much if you see antlers, you better shoot that bull because it might be the last bull you see type of hunt. So it's tough.
Daniel, for the guys out there that are thinking of putting in for 3C or 1 or 4B or 3B 23, what's the best way for guys to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you guys about the upcoming season, upcoming hunt?
The best way is just call us. Both of mine and Mike's cell phone numbers are on our website. They can message us through Instagram at Burnt Timber Outfitters. We've also got a website, which is burnttimberoutfitters.com. We've got a little bit of an issue right now where if you try to Google search it and click on the Google search engine link, it takes you to a different website that's trying to sell Viagra, which is definitely not us. But we're trying to work with Google and GoDaddy and get that remedied. We've actually got a new website that we're ready to launch. We've made some big changes to our website, and we're actually in the process of trying to get that launched. But until we can get the Google search issue squared away, we don't want to put it up yet until we can get that resolved, which we're hoping to have resolved here before the draw results come out for elk and antelope.
Nope.
So hopefully here within the next month.
No pun intended. You don't want to put it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had a few guys going, "Hey, is Burnt Timber Outfitters in the Viagra business now?"
Yeah, lovely.
Oh, so lovely. So but they can if you type in burnttimberoutfitters.com, our website comes up. You can email us. Our email's on there. Our cell phone numbers are on there. Feel free to call us. We'd love to talk elk. Love to talk about elk hunting and draw strategy and all that. You can follow us or DM us on Instagram at either Burnt Timber Outfitters or mine or Mike's personal Instagram accounts, which I'm sure most follow. So there's a couple different ways to get a hold of us and talk strategy and talk odds and kind of go from there. And of course, it requires a lot of luck.
Yeah. Well, buddy, thanks for coming on and sharing with us. Looking forward to another great season. I think the 2020 season could be a really good elk season for sure. And, you guys do some antelope hunts. Most of your main focus is on elk, but is there anything that jumps out at you on the antelope front there in some of the units that you hunt? We do some antelope hunts. Seems like every year we get a couple of clients. We actually enjoy the antelope hunts because
with 3C and a little bit of Unit 1, but mostly 3C, with most of the bulls, living on the reservation until it comes time for the rut. We really don't spend a whole lot of time scouting in the summer for elk. So once we get antelope clients, we spend a lot of our summers out looking at antelope, getting an inventory of, the antelope in the unit. So that's something that's always fun for us. The antelope units obviously kind of like elk, we're not going to travel all over the state to try to guide a unit that we've never been in or, is 6 hours away. So we pretty much stay right here, close to home. So kind of the units that we really focus on and mostly guide is units 3A and 3C, obviously, Unit 1, Unit 4B, 4A, and 5A and 5B.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing with us, and I encourage the listeners to reach out to Daniel and Mike and their crew if they've got any questions about that rim country area hunting. And Daniel, as always, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing with us. God bless you. Sorry you didn't shoot a buck in Mexico, but I'm glad your buddy's got some nice bucks, and I still don't feel too sorry for you with a 141 incher that you shot a couple years ago. So you're going to have to suffer through that for the next, probably 15 or 20 years with me.
Oh, I know, and I've come to terms with it, and I'm okay with it.
Right on, buddy. Take care.
Hey, thank you, Jay.
All right, bye.